my name is Jertao.
I'm Nina Vu.
I'm Mai Chi Lee.
And we all are students of Ms.Mcclure.
We are answering some survey questions for her, and this is the first question. Where were you born?
I was born in Thailand, in Wat Takabo, in a very small village in Thailand. And
I was also born in Thailand. I don't know where specifically the city, but I just know that I was born in Thailand.
I was born in Thailand. I don't really know where or yes. I was born in Thailand. Second question. What was it like growing up in Laos or Thailand?
life there, I think it have more freedom for us because we're a little kid back then and we don't have to go to school. We're not forced to go to school, so we spend a lot of times at home and play around with our friends. So I think for me, I enjoy Thailand a lot.
I used to think that living in Thailand was easier than living in America because we as little kids didn't have to go to school and we could be free and just walk around or play. But if you think about it, in the future we'll have no jobs and that won't be easy. So living in America is a lot easier than living in Thailand.
Living in Thailand was free. You could do whatever you want. There's no rules for you. However, you were kind of forced to grow up. You, as a Hmong person, people, or as the Hmong population, they are forced to grow up to become independent, to be married at young ages. So it has its ups and downs, but I was too young to experience that.
Yeah.
So,
and like girls, like at age 10, they have to learn how to cook already, and like they expect to get married at age 12 already. So we're forced to grow up, like just like how my Chi stated.
They have to learn how to be a good wife and just start a family at such an early age.
And they don't really have a choice to how or who they marry to. So that part in the culture is what kind of brings it down a little bit in Thailand. The next question is, what's different here in America?
In Thailand, we don't even have TV in our house. We don't have phone. We don't have all that. Communication, we just go to their house and talk to them. So that's a very big difference. And in Thailand, we live in a very small village, so we don't have to travel in cars and motorcycle. We just walk mostly, and I think those are big differences.
I think the biggest difference for me is the education system. In Thailand, when you're in trouble, you actually can get hit or basically abused by your teachers or principal. But here, it's different, and it's not a choice to go to education when you're like young over here, but that's a good thing because in Thailand you have a choice to go to school or not, and we have to pay for it too, and we can't. So it's actually a lot better here for the education here in the U.S.
Another difference is the bills or the things you have to pay. In Thailand, you don't have a lot of bills. There's just water bill and electricity bill, and that's it. There's no phone bill, unless you have a phone. There is, but there's no bills, no debt, nothing. And so in here, you are kind of expected to be having some of those, and there is a rule for you to be paying those, which is different from Thailand.
Yes, and in Thailand, we never heard of taxes before. We never paid tax, so it's very different when we come here and they start to talk about paying tax. It was very difficult for us to deal with it because we never paid tax before.
Number 3, or question 3, how do you experience oppression in your community?
So in Thailand, the governments of Thailand, they oppress us a lot because we were refugees, and they don't really respect us because we came to live in their land, and they don't really like that. So most of the time they send soldiers and guard the whole village, and whoever went out of curfew, they usually capture them and put them in jail. So I think that's a very big oppression that we face in Thailand.
In Thailand, when I was very young, I thought it was a good place because we could walk and just play anywhere we want. But then as I started getting older, new rules were enforced in the place that I was in, and they had wire fences, circle wire fences surrounding us, they weren't just the typical wire fences. They had like spikes coming out of them, and a lot of people were afraid of that. But as a young kid, we didn't know, so we always broke the rule and just went across. And sometimes you can cut yourself, but we want to go across and adventure onto the place where we're not allowed to go.
Another oppression the Hmong people experience is traveling. Traveling in Thailand or in Laos is very difficult. You have to have a certain this pass to be able to traveling, or else you'll be jailed without a say. There's no trial for you. You're just jailed. You have to pay the fine, or you'll be jailed for a certain amount of time before you can actually be released. The fourth question: what are some of your family traditions and cultural values?
Our Hmong, and I think a lot of people, they value respect, but for our Hmong, respect is very important, and especially respecting the elders. And ever since we were born, or ever since we remember, our parents taught us to respect the elders, especially our family. So I think that's a really great values for us.
Another value the Hmong people value is bonding or relationship with the Hmong in general. So they really like keeping the bonds or the relationships between families or cousins close, because having that will really help you, since they're on your side whenever you need help, whenever they need help, they're always around you. So there's always a little alliance thing that goes around the families.
Yeah, so every time we have a special ritual or something like that, or like a celebration, not just our family, but other family members who are like have the same last name, sometimes they came to help us with it, and like they coming to help means that one day if they have something, we got to go and help them. So that's a really big value or tradition in our home.
The next question: how do these impact your daily lives?
I think these traditions and values are a part of me, and they are a part of my identity. So without these, I don't know who I'm gonna become. And like because of these, and because I lived through these, I become I know how to respect others, and I know how to be helpful or help others, because maybe one day they can help me too. So it's a really big part of me.
These values impact my decisions and my daily thinking, because if someone treats me with disrespect, it makes me want to disrespect them too. Although most times when I am disrespected by someone respectable, I would respect them, because that's how I was taught to always respect your elders, even if you don't like them or you dislike them in some way. Because if you disrespect them, then that means that you are bad in some way, and that's not acceptable in the Hmong community. Next question: what are stereotypes that other people have about the Hmong population? How have you felt discriminated against?
A lot of the stereotype is like that. They compare us to Chinese, and they always think that we are Chinese instead of Hmong, and I think that have a very big impact on our Hmong, because we are Hmong and we're not Chinese. But every time when we see other people, they always think that we're Chinese. They don't know our culture, and I think that's not really what our Hmong wants. We want to be known. We want others to know us like how they know Chinese.
I think another discrimination or stereotype that people have against Hmong people is that because we live in the jungle, we are like animals. We don't have rules, or we don't know education. We're not smart. But it's not because we don't have education, but it's because we don't have education that we're not as smart. But now that we do have education, I think that stereotype will change in the future.
As Jer has stated, a lot of people don't know the Hmong population. They say that the Hmong people are Chinese, and that kind of just shows disrespect to the other races all around the world that they don't know of. So I find that those people are not fully aware of their surroundings or other people other than them, and that kind of shows disrespect to me, and I don't really like that at all.
And also, like for the past years, there's a lot of news about Hmong people. They like the guys killing the wife or the parents killing the child, and I think that is very difficult for the Hmong community because those people they cause the other people to think that the Hmong are bad, just similar to stereotype to African America, and like I think not all Hmong are like that, and I think that like all people sometimes they have to act different ways like that, and I don't want like people to think of our Hmong as murder or as evil people, and like we're Hmong, we're just another culture that people still need to learn, and we still need to expand our culture so that the whole world know, or like just as so that we don't have that stereotype anymore.
Oh, I think another stereotype that we often have is that it's where marriage comes in play, where the old person marries a very young person, and I just don't want for others to look at the Hmong people as bad people just because an elder marries a very young woman. This is part of our tradition, and although it might not be very good, it's still part of who we are.
Question 7. What are your impressions of Americans? My impression of Americans was that they were very tall, big, and intimidating. They were really nice too, and foreign to me because I didn't live here. That was my first impression of the Americans.
My first impression of the Americans were that, yes, like her, intimidating because they were huge compared to the Hmong people that I've seen all my life. And I just thought they looked really nice, like overall, physically and verbally, they were nice to me. So yeah, so I really thought that they were, even though they were intimidating, they looked nice, and I think they could approach me easily, although I can't approach them easily.
My first impression was that all Americans are very rich because when we came we were very poor, and all my family members they had to work except me, and we almost couldn't afford food if there's only like, we're pretty lucky because we got food stamps and all that to help us out, but when I look like at Americans, I see like they could support themselves, and my first impression was that they were really rich, and they were able to support themselves. But then after learning or like speaking to them, I noticed that they were very nice and they were hardworking people.
To me, I lived longer in the U.S. and heard more stories on how they were involved with the Hmong in the past. It kind of gave me more of a bad impression of the Americans, of how they left us, of how they didn't really help us at all. They just used us and threw us away, left us in nothing, for nothing. And so my impressions changed dramatically after a couple years of living in the U.S. Next question. So what do you think needs to be done to fight oppression of the Hmong people?
I think that for this problem, why we got oppressed is because we live in the jungles or in mountain. We don't have any educations. We don't have any knowledge about the war at all. When the war was at like war or like World War II, we don't even know that there's a war happening, and we have very small knowledge about the world and about language. And I think a lot of people look down at us, saying that we're like some stupid people. We don't deserve in living in their lands, and that's why they oppress us or they discriminate us. And I think that the most to improve or to stop the oppression, I think we Hmong people need to get the education that we need to improve our life, and to show other people that our Hmong, like us Hmong, we could do as better as them. We could like get our knowledge, and we could become as good as other people too. And like I just believe that education will help, will help everything.
I think a lot of people don't see it, but the Hmong people, the population, they're spreading, and word of Hmong people are becoming more and more heard because there are educated Hmong people who are spreading the word by writing books. For example, Kalia, she wrote The Late Homecomer, and it's one of the ways that can spread who the Hmong people are in the way, the things that we've been through. So things like Jer said, education is a big part that will spread us, the Hmong people, and who we are and the ways we are oppressed by.
I think one of the most important things is how people think, because for the Americans, they think that people like them are more developed, but people unlike them are savages, that they are undeveloped people. But I believe that if they have different mindsets and if they accept differences, then we won't be looked down, we won't be disrespected upon. And that could be one of the ways. It's just the Americans or other people changing their opinion of us. But to also do that, we have to stand up for ourselves too, to become more known, to advocate, and to fight for our beliefs. For example, how Nina said, to spread out to the world of the Hmong people.
And I think spreading the Hmong people, it's not saying that we're better than everybody else. It's saying that we're as equal as you, we're as good as you. So don't look down on us, but don't make us superior to, because we are all equal.
And we shouldn't be oppressed because we just are different and unknown to the whole universe. This is the end of our little survey
Answering questions.
interview.
Thank you very much, and hopefully you guys learn something about our Hmong culture.